What are the sharpening problems of this knife? The knife holding in my hand, as you can see here, 3 seconds. Well, first of all, very clearly you can see from here, this has a typical bird's beak shape. So a knife, when it's new, should have a curved up, and this knife is curved down. And you may well have seen a few knives around your friends, or maybe even one of your knife is like this. But what is the cause of this problem? Well, typically this is because someone who likes to use a specific area of the knife, say for example, if I really like this area, I like to use this area, I cut, and when it gets dull, always gets dull here. I am a very busy person, okay, the kitchen is very busy, so what happened is I just quickly sharpen this area and forget about the rest. And I may even just use steel, just do a bit of here. And then for a longer period of time, this gets sharpened over and over again. Eventually it starts to first become flat. So you could have seen quite a lot of people having this problem. So the knife is almost like a straight line, like this. Okay, so this is where it gets to straight first. Later on, because this is typically where it was used most, it starts to curve into it, like that. Okay, so this is the problem of a sharpening. And secondly, you can see from this knife, so you can see in the overhead camera, the steel is exposed minimally. Okay, let's turn it. So this is the edge, this is the clad line, and the steel has about 2 to 3 millimeters exposed. On the flip side, okay, a little bit, and you can't see any. That means the soft cladding is already merged with the steel. So in this problem, the user tends to sharpen only this side and not this side. So the profile has gradually become, say, a 9-1 or even a 10-0 profile compared to a 550-50 grind. So this is another bad sign. So the problem now with this knife is that it gets super thick and we may no longer cut efficiently. And if I was to put a potato in here, it's gonna split the potato. Okay, let's give it a try. So this is the knife, and if I'm cutting a potato now, what happens is, you hear the sound, it splits the potato. And if I hold it very closely, like that, you can see this is a curve, uneven, very big unevenness. Let's go to overhead. See here, very uneven. That means this knife is splitting the potato rather than cutting because of how thick it is. Whereas if I was to use a new, this is a Tanaka knife, new knife, you hear the sound. Okay, and if you look at the cutting, it's shiny and flat. This is cutting, not splitting. Whereas if you put the other chunk again, see, cutting, splitting, cutting, splitting. Okay, that's the difference. Right on. So how are we able to sharpen that it keeps the performance of the knife in check? Well, see this line here? Right, okay. So first of all, when we are sharpening, we have to always sharpen according to the profile of the knife. You can't just sharpen one bit and forget about the rest. So you have to always sharpen the blade roll regardless of where you like to use or which part of the knife you like to use. And secondly, we have to sharpen pretty much everything together. What I mean is, look at the edge. Look at the clad line. Let me click it up, the clad line. Okay, so the clad line has about 5 millimeters in from the edge to the clad. So typically on a new knife, we have from the edge to the clad line, that's about 5 millimeters. See, it's gone. So what we need to do really is we just have to keep these two lines going up together. in a somewhat parallel way. And for many knives, you have this distinct transition line as well. And see, this is a Tanaka, this is a Kurosaki. You have that transition line here. So you have that transition line. Okay, so you have the edge, the clad line, and the transition line. So from the edge to the clad line, about 5 millimeters, and from the clad line to this transition line, about 1 centimeter or maybe 12 millimeters, depending on the knife, right? Keep all three going up together in a parallel way. In that way, you keep the integrity of the cutting bevel somewhat in check. And as long as you can do this, you will be able to keep the performance of the knife. And say, some people say, hey, how do I do this? Well, if you were always sharpening with an angle like this, of course you're going to get rid of the steel first before, even touching this line. So all you have to do, imagine this is a stone, you have to basically lay flat. This is called thinning. All you have to do is occasionally make sure everything is in check. And lastly, as we can see here, this knife, on this side it's sharpened a lot, and this side it wasn't sharpened really. And that's why what we see here is we have the clad eating into the precision of the steel. So if the user keeps on doing this, what happens is you will have the steel moved all the way to one side, and the clad becomes the new cutting steel. This is a bigger problem because every time you will have the soft cladding doing all the cutting, and the steel actually gets moved to another side. So we have to keep the knife, say if it's a gyuto, a double-sided knife, keep it 50-50. Don't do, say, a lot of the seki knife, the old seki knife tends to do, hey, I want to do, 7-3, 9-1, even 9-1. That's another whole lot of another problem. But what we are saying is, okay, so if you're happy with the knife's performance, keep it like that. If it's 50-50, do 50-50. Don't just imaginarily come up with something else. So this is the problem of this knife. Alright, today let's talk about how to fix this knife. So this is no longer a chef knife. If you look at it, it used to be, but that's no longer the case. And now it is more like a tsuchihiki. So we probably just have to fix it towards a tsuchihiki. So what we're going to do is we have to do a rough shaping, like so. That's the low point. So that's how I am going to fix the knife. We have to remove all that bit, make it more like a proper profile, like that, like so. Then what we have to do is, after reprofiling, we have to do major thinning around these lines. We have to really thin it down so that we expose the clad line. Okay, so now this knife pretty much looks like a proper knife. I spent about 40 minutes reprofiling, thinning, especially thinning. You can see the clad line has been fully re-exposed, and a lot of scratch because the knife has been totally thinned down. So the next step is to basically refinish the surface here because the scratch is really not pretty. So we refinish the scratch a little bit and then we give it an edge. This is the Chosera 400. So look at how I'm pretty much laying it flat. Okay, so this is to finish the surface. You do thinning like this as well. So this is how it is like with a bit of a surface refinish on the 400 grit Chosera. So now we need to lift it up and give it an edge. Now it's 1000. Okay, this is the result of 1000 grit. 3,000. This is the finished product. Moment of truth, huh? Did you hear the sound? This is smooth. And yesterday, well, we were testing it originally, it was cracking a potato. Okay, so we are cutting the potato, no longer splitting. And this is the combination of reprofiling, thinning, and sharpening. And this is brought to you by the most professional store in Sydney, Knives and Stones. Until then, see you.